This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily roundup. We have a packed episode today, covering everything from tech addiction and medical mysteries to the psychological patterns that shape our daily lives and personal relationships.
Courts hold tech giants liable for addictive social media design.
Common antioxidant supplements might increase risks for future children.
A mysterious meningitis outbreak in Kent leaves experts searching.
Migrant children are being used to lure and detain relatives.
Procrastination is more about managing emotions than poor planning.
Gut bacteria actively inject proteins to control your immunity.
Longitudinal data confirms social media harms youth mental health.
Women in relationships report higher sexual satisfaction than men.
Narcissism and perfectionism are linked in our daily moments.
Beliefs about demons significantly impact the experience of illness.
Let's start with social media. Recent court verdicts in California and New Mexico have put a spotlight on the intentional design of social media platforms. A California jury recently held Google and Meta responsible for the depression and anxiety of a woman who used these platforms as a child, concluding that tools like Instagram and YouTube were built to be addictive. This shift in focus from content to design is backed by researchers like Dr. Jason Nagata, who found that many young teens exhibit symptoms mirroring substance addiction, such as withdrawal and impaired daily functioning, when they cannot access their apps.
It is striking that nearly a quarter of the 11 and 12-year-olds surveyed spent a significant amount of time just thinking about their social media apps. Scientists are now identifying specific design elements that are particularly difficult for developing brains to resist. By pinpointing these features, researchers hope to provide a roadmap for companies to create safer digital environments. While the tech companies are currently appealing these legal verdicts, the growing body of scientific evidence suggests that compulsive use is a structural issue, not just a matter of individual willpower or parental supervision.
Now to a supplement study. A new study from Texas A&M University suggests that high doses of common antioxidants like N-acetyl-L-cysteine, or NAC, and selenium might have unexpected consequences for future generations. While these supplements are often taken to reduce oxidative stress or slow aging, research using mouse models showed that males given these antioxidants produced offspring with subtle but significant changes in their skull and facial structures. Interestingly, the fathers themselves appeared perfectly healthy, but the researchers believe the high doses altered their sperm DNA. This suggests that even beneficial compounds can become problematic when taken in excessive amounts.
This research is particularly relevant for men who are planning to have children. Dr. Michael Golding's team originally looked at these supplements as a way to counteract the negative effects of alcohol consumption, which is known to cause oxidative stress. However, they found that the supplements themselves could trigger developmental differences. It challenges the common assumption that more antioxidants are always better for your health. As these supplements are widely available in multivitamins and health stores, the findings highlight a need for more caution regarding dosage, especially during the preconception period for both parents.
Next, a UK health alert. Health officials in the UK are investigating an unprecedented meningitis outbreak in Kent that has seen 20 confirmed cases in a very short period. All of the patients required hospital treatment, with 9 ending up in intensive care, and tragically 2 young people have died. While the immediate danger seems to have passed with no new cases for a week, experts are still trying to solve the mystery of why this happened. The outbreak was centered around a single nightclub in Canterbury, suggesting a high concentration of infection that is very rare for bacterial meningitis.
Dr. Eliza Gill notes that while university students are generally at a higher risk due to social mixing, the circumstances in Kent weren't particularly exceptional compared to other college towns. This has led researchers to focus on whether the specific strain of bacteria involved has changed, or if there has been a significant drop in community immunity. Usually, meningitis appears as isolated, random cases because the bacteria rarely cross the barriers in the throat to invade the body. Understanding if this was a one-off event or a sign of a changing threat is now the top priority.
Moving to immigration policy news. Reports have surfaced detailing how the Trump administration has used migrant children to lure their parents and relatives into immigration detention. In one harrowing case, a father went to an ICE office in New Mexico expecting an interview about reuniting with his children. only to be detained and sent to a facility in El Paso. His teenage children have remained in a federal shelter for over a year. This strategy involves coordination between the Office of Refugee Resettlement and law enforcement, a move that critics say prioritizes enforcement over the well-being of vulnerable children who are often fleeing violence.
The impact on the children involved is severe, with reports of panic attacks, social withdrawal, and a loss of hope as they languish in government shelters. While the resettlement office was originally designed by Congress to protect these minors, the shift in priorities has led to prolonged separations. Many caregivers are being arrested while trying to follow the legal process for reunification. Although some individuals, like the father in New Mexico, have eventually been released on bond after judicial intervention, the practice has created a climate of fear that prevents families from coming forward to claim their children.
Now, a look at procrastination. A new study in Psychological Reports suggests that procrastination is not actually caused by an inability to imagine the future or set goals. In fact, frequent procrastinators can visualize their success just as vividly as anyone else. The real issue appears to be the management of negative emotions, specifically a high level of anxiety about failing at short-term objectives. This challenges the traditional view of procrastination as a simple failure of self-regulation or a preference for immediate rewards. Instead, it's a coping mechanism used to avoid the immediate stress and discomfort associated with a challenging or important task.
Researcher Helgi Clayton McClure explains that by looking at personal goals rather than just academic tasks, they found that the emotional weight of the goal is what triggers the delay. When a task feels deeply meaningful, the fear of not doing it perfectly becomes overwhelming. This suggests that to beat procrastination, people might need to focus more on emotional regulation techniques rather than just better time management tools. Understanding that the mental block is emotional rather than cognitive could change how we approach productivity, moving away from shame and toward addressing the underlying anxiety that keeps us stuck.
Shifting to gut health science. Scientists at Helmholtz, Munich have discovered that gut bacteria are far more active than we previously thought. They found that even harmless, friendly microbes have microscopic injection systems that allow them to send proteins directly into human cells. This discovery fundamentally changes our understanding of the microbiome, showing that these bacteria aren't just passive residents but active participants in our biology. By injecting these proteins, they can manipulate our immune responses and metabolic pathways. This direct communication channel could be a key factor in why certain bacteria are linked to inflammatory diseases like Crohn's disease.
Previously, these syringe-like structures, known as type 3 secretion systems, were thought to be exclusive to harmful pathogens like Salmonella. Finding them in commensal or helpful bacteria is a major shift. The research team systematically mapped these protein-to-protein interactions, providing a molecular explanation for how the gut microbiome influences overall health. This opens up new possibilities for treatments that could target these specific interactions to calm overactive immune responses. It's a fascinating look at the complex, high-tech warfare and cooperation happening inside our digestive tracts every single day, influencing our health from the inside out.
Next, more on digital media. A massive review published in JAMA Pediatrics has provided some of the clearest evidence yet linking heavy social media use to poorer mental health in youth. Unlike previous studies that only provided a snapshot in time, this research focused on longitudinal data, tracking children and teens over several years. The findings consistently show that high levels of digital media engagement precede increases in depression, behavioral problems, and substance use. While some video games might offer a minor boost to certain mental skills, the overall trend for social media is overwhelmingly negative when it comes to long-term emotional development.
Lead author Sam Teague emphasized that by focusing on longitudinal studies, they could finally start to see the direction of the relationship, suggesting that the media use is a driver of these issues rather than just a symptom. The study also made a point to distinguish between different types of screen time, noting that interacting on social platforms carries different risks than simply watching television. This comprehensive picture is vital for parents and policymakers who are trying to navigate the digital landscape. It confirms that the rising rates of youth mental health struggles are deeply intertwined with our current digital habits.
Now to relationship satisfaction. A new study in the archives of sexual behavior is challenging long-held societal assumptions about gender and intimacy. The research found that women in committed romantic relationships actually report slightly higher sexual satisfaction than men. This contradicts the common narrative that women naturally enjoy intimacy less due to biological or social hurdles. While factors like the orgasm gap and the sexual double standard are real, the study suggests that the safety and trust found in an established partnership can mitigate these issues. In a stable relationship, better communication and a sense of security allow women's subjective enjoyment to thrive.
Professor Ashlyn Brady, the study's author, noted that inconsistent findings in the past often stemmed from not accounting for the type of relationship. When women feel safe from the harsh judgments often associated with casual encounters, their satisfaction levels rise significantly. The data suggests that the emotional connection and mutual understanding in a long-term partnership are powerful equalizers. This research is important because it pushes back against stereotypes that can negatively affect how couples view their own intimacy. It shows that when the environment is right, women's experiences are highly positive and often exceed those of their male partners.
Next, narcissism and perfectionism. Researchers in Germany have discovered that narcissism and perfectionism are more closely linked in our daily lives than previously understood. By following students through their daily routines using smartphone surveys, the team found that these traits fluctuate from moment to moment. When people feel a burst of grandiose narcissism, feeling powerful or superior, they also tend to set extremely high standards for themselves. Conversely, moments of vulnerable narcissism, characterized by feeling misunderstood or insecure, are strongly tied to perfectionistic concerns, such as a paralyzing fear of making mistakes or being judged. This shows these traits are dynamic states, not just fixed personalities.
This real-time data provides a nuanced look at how our self-image shapes our goals and fears throughout the day. For instance, the study showed that when someone is in a grandiose state, they actually worry less about failure, focusing entirely on their high standards. But when that confidence slips into vulnerability, the focus shifts to avoiding criticism. Understanding these daily patterns can help individuals recognize why they might be pushing themselves too hard, or why they are suddenly afraid of being evaluated. It highlights the complex emotional dance between how we see ourselves and the impossible standards we often try to meet.
Finally, faith and mental health. A qualitative study in the journal Spirituality and Clinical Practice has explored how evangelical Christians use their beliefs about demons to make sense of mental illness. For some, attributing psychological distress to spiritual forces provides a framework of meaning that helps them cope with suffering. However, for others, this same belief can create dangerous barriers to seeking medical or psychiatric care. The research describes this spiritual explanation as a double-edged sword. While it can offer a sense of purpose within a specific worldview, it can also lead to the rejection of evidence-based treatments if the illness is seen purely as a supernatural attack.
Psychology researcher Christopher Lloyd found that the most helpful path for many in these faith communities is an integrated approach. When religious beliefs are respected and combined with standard psychiatric care, patients often have better outcomes. The study involved 50 evangelical Christians, many with personal histories of mental illness, and highlighted the need for clinicians to understand these theological frameworks. By acknowledging the patient's worldview without dismissing it, medical professionals can build better trust. This ensures that individuals receive the clinical help they need while still finding the spiritual meaning that is so central to their lives and recovery process.
That wraps up our briefing for today. Thank you for joining us for these important updates.
Be sure to follow us for your daily dose of the stories that matter most. We will see you back here tomorrow.